All right, if you guys saw my last video, we recorded our latest episode with James Harden trade and stuff. Obviously, I was with my co-host Gianni and our guest SpeakEz Sports, who happens to be a Pistons fan. And during the show, he actually asked us a question about the Pistons that I ended up cutting out, and I thought I'd just put it into a video on its own. Now, I will give a few disclaimers. The first one is that we were in an hour-long Discord call when we were recording the show, so if there's freezes and sometimes audio cuts, that's why I spent a lot of time trying to make it sound swift. And as for my audio, you might hear some background noises because for some reason it sounded like I was at the bottom of a black hole. I really don't know why, but I just sounded really soft. And sometimes like I'm in a wind tunnel. So you might hear some background noise when I talk, but other than that, I hope you guys enjoy, and we're gonna talk about the Detroit Pistons.
It's a big it's a big debate here in Detroit, and you guys obviously your shit when it comes to basketball. Sekou Doumbouya, what's your guys' take on that? With him not getting the playing time at this point in his career, and because he's shown some flashes of highlights and whatnot. What's your take there on that one? You think he's a bust at this point, or what's going on here?
So I did a little deep dive reading into this morning. Actually, it popped up into my feed, and it's, as Detroit fans, you guys obviously don't see Blake Griffin as a long-term piece, and so you want to in turn move Blake Griffin for some value, but the way he's playing right now, his value's so low. The only way you increase his value is by playing him and hoping that he at least brings back some flashes of old Blake Griffin. And in order to do that, it's going to cut into Doumbouya's minutes. That should still not result in Doumbouya being a DNP-CP or a DNP-CD coach's decision to not play, because he still should get minutes over guys, right? And you signed Jeremy Grant to a big deal, so he's going to get minutes. Plumlee, you guys signed to a deal, he's going to get minutes. The fact that Saddiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart are getting the minutes, but Sekou isn't, is a bit perplexing to me. There's minutes to go around. You guys are getting blown out in games where, even at the very least, to put him in for the final 6 to 8 minutes of blowout run, put him out there and see what he has. It's just such an odd position right now because Hayes is out, Rose is out. So your starting lineup is all veterans, basically, with DeLon Wright, Wayne Ellington, Blake Griffin, Jeremy Grant, Mason Plumlee. I don't know if any of those guys actually fit into the long-term picture outside of possibly DeLon Wright as a bench piece and possibly Jeremy Grant as a back-end starter.
Yeah, I don't like really what the Pistons have been doing. They just have, like you said, they have too many veterans on the team to be so mediocre. They're veterans that have potential trade value, like Blake, like Rose. They're not really getting, at first they weren't really getting that playing time. Now Blake, it seems like he's getting more. It seems like Rose in the recent games is getting less, but they're really not performing as good as they were last season or in other seasons prior. So, yes, they have Jeremy Grant, who's been playing extremely well, but I don't really think Jeremy Grant is the guy to build around. I don't think that he's the guy that, you can put as the franchise star for several years down the line. So, I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think the end game goal is to have Killian as a distributor, almost. I don't want to say Chris Paul, but someone who gets other guys going in their spots and whatnot. With passing the ball. But I've just been so confused with the Sekou Doumbouya because I feel like I just want to see him play more so I can personally know for myself why isn't he seeing the floor? You know what I'm saying, what is he missing? Because I'm confused because we've seen flashes and sometimes you get your hometown, you get sipping the Kool-Aid and people speaking really highly of him. Well, the coach has to know more basketball than me, right? And the fans, what the hell is it? I don't know. Mistake at this point.
There were some flashes last year where he at least looked like he could be viable, but it's the Pistons have just had no ability to draft and develop. And anytime they get to a point where they've at least semi-developed somebody where they could be a role player, they're on their way out. Look at Luke Kennard. He was probably your guys' best young player, and now he's off the team. And you guys attached 4 second-round picks to that deal to get rid of him. It just seems like the front office is not understanding what they're doing, or they're making moves that don't fit into a realistic timeline.
Because we have a new GM now with Troy Weaver, and I do like what he did with the draft this year. But I think the goal here, because we are a small market team, is to build through that draft. Let's see, he collected the 3 first rounders this year. Obviously, they're probably looking to get rid of Blake, and I think I do respect Katie, and I hate to call for one's job or say that they're going to get fired, but that's not Troy Weaver's coach. He didn't hire him. You know what I'm saying? So I think maybe Casey's just trying to win games so he keeps his job. Obviously, that's his needs, and Troy's just kind of collecting like these young pieces of talent to eventually down the line build through draft rather than free agency. Because again, we're a small market team. We're not gonna need big splashy names,
Right. So small market teams generally have to build via the draft because no big player is going to want to come to Detroit because they'd rather live in LA or they'd rather live in New York or they'd rather live in Chicago. So there's that. And then Dwayne Casey, just his whole thing, even with the Raptors, is it wasn't a lot of developing what he had, but just playing veterans, just winning games. Like you saw it every regular season. They always won a lot of games in the regular season, but didn't do much in the playoffs. But they never played any young guys. And I think some coaches just get stuck on that. I mean, look at Tom Thibodeau right now with the Knicks. Like he's playing Peyton 40 minutes a game and he's not giving Quickly the run. He's just playing veterans. He's playing Austin Rivers 34 minutes a game and not giving Knox the run. Like some coaches are just stuck in their old ways and not willing to adapt. And I think that's kind of where Casey is at this point in his career.
What I will say is that I think player development with the Pistons is still a bit sketch. I know some of it falls on the player's work ethic, but I mean, we saw Andre Drummond. He was there for so long and it seemed like his game was pretty much the same. And then once they eventually traded him, they got like nothing for him. What did they get, like Brandon Knight and a pick? I mean, that's a player that they were building around for so long. They were building around him since they had like Stuckey on the team and Jennings and stuff. So, I mean, he's been there for so long and they couldn't get hardly anything for him after like 8 years and multiple All-Star appearances with him. You look at you said Luke Kennard, they pretty much just let go. They just let Christian Wood pretty much go, and now
Christian Wood thing was weird, yeah.
Yeah, like he's got he's averaging 22 or more points a game right now in Houston. And I mean, you could say, yeah, well, the Rockets aren't that great, but I mean, neither were the Pistons last year when he was averaging like half that. So clearly, there's something going on with the player development and, maxing out his full potential there that he couldn't get in Detroit. So I think that's something that the general managers in the league need to look at. And when it comes to the Pistons, they really haven't had that in recent years. I feel like I don't want to make this like an insult or something, but every time I look at some Pistons players, I just feel like a lot of their talent either just washes away or is being wasted. And I don't know. That's just my perspective of it. I see so many players there that they could be in so many other situations, or they were in other situations and they were playing so good. Remember Avery Bradley?
Dude, yeah, man.
He didn't do anything. They traded him immediately. So Tobias Harris, he was good there for a little bit, but then it was after that when he went to the Clippers that he almost became an all-star. And they were top of the West for a while before they traded him. So I don't know.
Morris twins.
Yep, the Morris twins.
It's weird too because SVG was a weird situation because I like him as a coach, but in the front office aspect, it was fucking terrible because we did have the Morris, the good one, Marcus, and then we had Tobias Harris, and we had Avery Bradley, and we were in the playoffs. We played Cleveland pretty tough. It was a sweep. It's LeBron James, arguably the greatest. And then his front office moves why'd you trade those pieces we were having success with? It's weird.
I think the other thing is just, and we already mentioned that these teams have to build through the draft. It's just
missing in the draft.
You guys have missed on everything.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what Dan Boy comes out to be, the fact that he isn't getting any playing time now doesn't help. Kennard, he's a good player, but you took him over better players right now. You guys, you can't afford to keep missing in the lottery. And when that happens, you can't do anything about it. So the last time they made the playoffs was in 18-19, and that was with Casey as the coach at 41-41. But there's no young guys on the roster.
I was so pissed when they pushed for the playoffs that year. I'm like, what are you doing? We suck. We're barely making the playoffs under 500. What? Go get a lottery pick. You know what I'm saying? Go get a lottery pick and build off what the hell you think you have, even though it was shit.
I mean, it's, that year, Svi was a rookie, Bruce Brown was a rookie, Kennard was a second-year player. Other than that, everybody else that got minutes been in the league for at least, 5 years. They say they want to rebuild, they want to go young, and then they sign aging veterans to high-dollar contracts, try to win, and find themselves in the position where they're finishing, between 8th and 12th in the East instead of just being either very bad or very good.
Yeah, and I think the best example that you could say about going after guys that have been on, they've been in their career for so long, and then it seems like once they go to the Pistons, like everything just goes downhill for them. Josh Smith, right? I mean, they signed Josh Smith to like a heavy contract. I believe, unless it just ended last season or maybe it ends this season, I don't know, but they might still be paying him because they like stretched his contract. So like you got to think about it. This guy was signed with them 8 years ago. It's been that long.
I think this is the last year for that one.
Yeah, he's been off the team though for 6 seasons, and they're still paying him because they wanted to, go after him. That's just something that I feel like is a common theme with the Pistons, but I don't know. I just feel like the Pistons, they get like, they're easily, I guess, baited to, maybe signing these players when realistically they could make better decisions.
I agree. Well, I do appreciate you guys' take, man. I do gotta get you guys on one of my shows too, man. You guys know your shit, man. That was really awesome show. It was really nice to talk to you guys.